about the experiment with the E. coli.
Yes.
When they enter the data points, does Google Docs have some function where it automatically graphs that, or how is that?
Yeah, what we did is there's a chart function that you can, we had a chart set up, and if they entered it in, they could see the chart being created as the data came in.
Is that something you created or something already on Google?
No, that's something that, I mean, you can do it with Google Docs, is that, you know, if you use Sheets, you can make a chart. And so, I mean, you're using their functions, but you have to make the chart. Yeah.
So it's essentially like Excel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes?
How deeply are you looking at the revisions, obviously for collaboration? Like,
Okay, so it was a class of about 60 students, and they're in groups of 4.
Right.
So you're only talking about 15 proposals. So yeah, we could look at it pretty deeply.
Right, and then you can kind of assess participation on that.
Yeah.
The collaboration piece of it.
Yeah, so we did that in 2 ways. We let them tell us, and so we not just on the proposal, but for the whole semester, we let them say, this person really cooperate, you know, they ranked each other. And we told them, look, if you're going to rank each other, we're going to look at this, and if you just all give each other 100 and don't think about it, you know, we'll just throw it out. So we made them do it, and you know, we saw what was going on too. The other thing is that I was watching what they were doing, so I could really follow the revision history, and that was really helpful. If you got to a larger assignment, I think I would be, you know, I would arrange it so it's something that you can really watch, because you got to keep an eye on it. Yeah?
So when they're collaborating on a research proposal, do you put your edits together with everybody else's in that document? And if
Yeah.
so, do you look at, you know, how do students respond to that? Because then they can see your criticisms or your comments, you know, are available to the whole group that works on that document.
Yeah, they like that. And again, that's one thing I wanted to mention. This is a very, we put a lot of scaffolding on this assignment. So we talked about, they wrote like a plan of attack, which is an outline of just the research that they're doing. And then we had them outline their proposal, and then we had them start writing sections of it. And through that whole process, they all would look at it and give criticisms. I would look at it also. And so I could take the people that were getting off track and say, no, 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 you don't want to talk about this. That's not what this is about. One of the things that they really struggled with was seeing the whole proposal. They would get focused on their little section of it and write the proposal only on their section. And we always had to keep broadening their view and say, no, no, your research proposal is for what the whole group is doing, not just what your little section of it. And so it was really useful to have that interaction.
Do they organize who works on what section among themselves?
Yes, yeah. I didn't assign that. I let them do that because, you know, this is the capstone class and do you guys know what the capstone is for CALs? I'll explain it. Is that every major has to have a class that tries to bring together everything that they've learned in their major and use it in a class to do something. And there's got to be an ethics component, and there's got to be collaboration, and there's got to be an oral presentation and written, and et cetera, et cetera. And this is the capstone class. So we want them to really work together on this kind of stuff, and so that's important for the whole deal. Yes?
When you do the overview of Google Docs at the beginning, is that something that you do yourself, or maybe this is a question for John, is there a preset like demonstration that I can show in class, like a 10-minute overview of Google Docs? That
would be for John. We do it. I'm a geek. I do bioinformatics. I play with computers until, you know, I played with Pong. Okay, that's how old I am. Okay, so I've been messing around with computers forever, so I do that kind of stuff. But.
So how many of you, all right, this is going to be an easy question. How many of you have already worked with Google Docs? Okay, how many of you have been working with Google Docs since it came out, like, however many years ago? Do you remember what that was like? It was cool, but there was really clumsy, and there were a lot of issues. To get to your question of is there an overview, there are now probably 1,000 overviews of Google Docs online, on YouTube, and wherever. The problem is that a lot of them are still from 2012 or 2011 or whatever. And so they address the old versions of Google Docs. Whenever I go look for an overview, I look for something that's within the last month or so to try to find what the one that has, some of the latest features. Are you guys all familiar with the editing versus suggesting? Like that was a huge feature there. So you can just add suggestions, and then you're not making changes, and people don't have to go to the revision history to find that. You just get into the suggestion mode, and it adds this extra thing, which then you can, the main owner can either choose to accept it or reject that. Like, things like that are making it really awesome. The revision history that Tim was talking about is right down here. See revision history? It pops out on the side. You can see sort of this high up view, or you can really go down and show more detailed stuff so that every time that a change was made, you can go see what, be down farther, different things that were added. Go back in time and see what it looked like throughout the history here.
Yeah, and that's really useful for them, especially if they get off track. They can go back to a revision and just hit the link that says restore this version. It puts it right back so they can start again.
And Tim was right when we said that, even though they're the millennial generation, they're the digital natives, so-called, they don't know about a lot of this stuff. So I had a sign-up sheet to present, and I had some students who actually kicked other people off of the sign-up sheet so that they could present right next to each other. That's kind of academic dishonesty. And they're like, well, we didn't do that. And I was like, revision history, guys.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
What a coincidence that right when you were signing up, they unsigned, right? So, yeah. So that's revision history, and that's kind of cool. So in the worksheet itself, we've got a bunch of things, and I want to make sure that one of the things we always get in our evaluations is not enough time for hands-on. So I want to force you to get into Google Docs and do some of these things. Tim talked about right away, one of the things he talked about was using your UW-Madison Google account. And that might be the trickiest part, Nina, about as far as scaffolding for your students. If you can figure out how to get them, you can feel free to steal these instructions. I don't know if they're good enough or not, but they're enough to get you started. The knowledge base, Do It knowledge base, has I think several documents on how to do this as well. Although sometimes that's a little clunky. But jump in and start playing around with these things. The nice advantage about, as Tim was talking about, sharing with the UW Google Apps community is that they show up with their name when they log in. They're automatically logged in. So if you don't get anonymous Nyan cat or anonymous cheetah, you actually get, Margaret Merrill at wisc.edu. And so we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, and it's really important if you're going to follow their progress and what they're doing, that you make them do your wisc.edu account. You do not authorize them to use their Gmail account, because then there's the whole process of trying to figure out who is who. So it's really important they use their wisc.edu account.
And there are things that I set up. So what if and please start working. I'm just going to keep on talking here, though. If you're doing things like you want anonymous feedback, that's something that I will open up something and let anybody say anything on it. And I figured that that's okay. That's not anything that I grade. It's not anything that I really care that much about, but it's a way for them to give me feedback. And as far as I know, it wasn't Nina who gave me the feedback. It was anonymous gopher or whatever. And that's okay. I use that as much as I would use feedback from somebody specifically. But pick and choose which things you let them do. I let them comment on my syllabus, and that way, or on my assignments. That way, if they have a question about it, they can highlight exactly what part is confusing them, ask in the comments what the question is, I'll get an email saying so-and-so asked a comment about this assignment. I can make that change immediately to the assignment sheet and clarify it there. I don't have to send out 1,000 emails to everybody else because everybody else who looks at the assignment sheet will see the clarification that was made, specifically to confuse some people. So that's kind of another way to open up comments for some people, but not let them edit it.
It might also be
All right.
interesting to try.
Let's
I don't
bring
know
it back.
that you can access your child's stuff that's in Google Classroom
To the front
to
here,
see, you know,
and
what it is and how it works.
I just want to, what are you guys thinking? You all already use Google Docs in your classes? Do you have anything cool that you do that we haven't talked about or isn't on the sign-up sheet or the activity sheet?
You know, I was sharing with Margaret, we saw some great science examples, but you can use, there is a timeline program that would work for science or humanities, called JS Timeliner. It's free, it's by Night Labs, I think it comes out of Purdue potentially.
In the 50 ways to blend sheet,
Yep.
50
Exactly.
ways to blend, oh man, what was it? Bit.ly/50 ways to blend. JS Timeliner and a couple of other Timeliner tools are there as well with examples.
Right, and the basic, it builds it from a collaborative Google Sheet, so you could give students the chance to put one entry, do a deep dive into one entry of some topic and add it, and then you're collaboratively creating a timeline. And then you don't have to create the timeline, you can make them do it, which is way better for their learning and your.
Yeah, if you're not already comfortable with this sheet, bit.ly 50 ways to blend, it's a fabulous Google Doc table that is perfectly collaborative. You should add stuff to it. We last year tried to set up for the Teaching and Learning Symposium. We tried to get 50 ways to blend your learning. It starts off with a cute little line, 50 ways to leave your lover, by Paul Simon. 50 ways to blend your learning. Thank you, Nina. Oh, don't forget to fill out your, oh, you did already. Wait, fill out your evaluation, please.
The purple one.
We have 68 now, or 72 or 74 ways to blend your learning, and the JS timeline is somewhere in the middle of that. So really good point to bring that up as well.
Look, I added to our list over here
Student created assignment.
of 3 assignments you could make collaborative and done. One of them actually.
Any other ways that you guys are already using it that we've missed out on, or hints or suggestions that you've figured out that we missed? Yes?
We have a question here.
Oh, what is it?
Amy and Bob were asking about creating a link within a Google Doc to a PDF.
Yep.
Yeah. And I could not figure out how to get the PDF to have an original link, it's a unique link. Like the link that when I double click the PDF and it opens, I copied the link at the top, but that ended up being a link to the folder the PDF was in, as opposed to a link to the PDF itself
The
within Google
PDF
Doc.
is in Google Drive already?
Yeah, we put the PDF in Google Drive.
So if you open up the PDF in Google Drive, sometimes it will show you the preview. And if you copy that link, it will be the link to the folder.
Yes.
But at the top of the preview, there should be an option for Get Shareable Link, the little picture of the human with the plus on it.
Oh!
And at the top of that is a Get Shareable Link. And that Get Shareable Link is also a fairly new option in Google Drive that'll let you share that Google Doc with anybody. And you only.
And then with that link, you can set the permissions of who can edit, who can comment.
Maybe I've never tried that.
You can make it totally I do that a lot when we're working with our team, because people don't need to log in, and it's like, well, states encourage motor pathway sign up sheet
Yeah.
to put in there, and I just, instead of adding 20 emails, I just make it, anyone with this link, you don't have to have your WISC credentials, can edit.
Yep. And that's how I've done it as well, because right when I was teaching, having people figure out how to sign into the WISC Google was too much of a hassle that I didn't want to deal with, and it was only the 20 students in my class anyway, so
Yeah.
I just said, you know, when you sign up and use your name, you should remember that. I mentioned to Elise, one of the things that's changing, especially if we're using Google Docs online primarily, I get rid of the margins because the web window already has margins. So if I'm embedding it in Desire to Learn or in something like that, why, you know, it only gives you this much space anyway, and then if you have the margins, it really shrinks it down. So I'll put the margins all the way out at 1/4 inch, and that way I'm using up more of the space. If it's only going to be used in Google Docs and I want to make full use of the page, I'll put it in landscape mode and get rid of the print view layout, and that way when they're seeing it, I'm using up more of my computer screen, which is in sort of this horizontal landscape format anyway. So those are some other little tricks. Other thoughts in the last minute, Margaret?
Table of contents. Do you guys know how to use a table of contents thing in Google Docs?
Cool, yeah.
My favorite.
Using headings that never used to be a thing in Word, and then it was a thing in Word, but nobody still used it. With Google Docs, using the headings, I do that all the time. And they transfer over to web as well for WordPress, so that's kind of nice.
I didn't know that.
I use it in Word all the time.
The table of contents, I don't think transfer over to WordPress, but headings will transfer over to WordPress.
I don't use it in Word, but I use it in Google Docs all the time.
It is 9:30, our time is up. Tuesday, we're going to be talking more about Google Docs and other areas of Google Apps. If you're thinking about using Hangouts for office hours, we could talk about that, or for test prep. I know Tim uses that for study groups. Lauren, you probably know people who use Google Hangouts for language learners.
I use it a lot, and I know people that use it unfortunately Tuesday I'm traveling.
Okay, that's all right. Well, maybe I'll talk to you beforehand, get some more ideas about what we're going to talk about. You can sign up for those things on the sign-up sheet on the back table on your way out. Please fill out your purple forms, and thank you so much for coming, and thank you, Tim, for sharing. One of the great things about the presentation this morning was I think that participants really love to see the speakers struggle with technology, especially in technology. They don't feel so bad.
Okay.